Dig on America. Last call. 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 Last call.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Last Call with Lourin and Brent. We are here. We have survived another week. I do have my scotch ready for what we're about to get into this week. But before we do, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And if you have not yet subscribed to the show, click subscribe, click that like button. It helps us here at the Dig on America Network to share the show and grow the show to all the folks that need to have this information. Brent, how was your week this week?
We had a bit of a crazy week, and I'm gonna do your rosebud and thorn right at the top of the show.
Okay.
We switched my youngest preschool, and we switched it for a variety of reasons, but I'm going to be the non-Democrat, full Democrat here. One of them was the most ridiculous reason ever, which was her preschool would no longer guarantee that just because you're a student this year that you would get into class next year, because they wanted to be more fair to potentially people coming in. And Brindley is a January 1st baby. So she just turned 4. And so there's a competitive thing at the 4-year-old range for preschool. And the school sent out a notice and said, okay, well, you need to fill out this form at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and then you send it back in, and the order you return it, you'll get a number, but then that number will be drawn in order to decide, and other people will be allowed the chance to whatever, because like being up at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning to fill out a form and being ready to click submit was like, that's not a problem. But it opened our eyes and the door to truly a preschool education that I had, a Montessori education. And I was able to reach out to a Montessori school near us, and Brindley switched from 4 days a week from 9 a.m. to noon to 5 days a week from 7:45 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And so Rose, new preschool, no, not that. Bud, new preschool. Rose, she is thriving. At lunch, they have to set their place setting. They have to put down their plate, their fork, their napkin. They have to bring their lunch and they have to transfer everything onto their plate, eat, then they have to clean their plate, put everything away, a place for everything in its place. And she's already brought it home, and she's already embarrassing my 12-year-old into doing it because like that is the bud and the rose, and the thorn was the thing I explained earlier. Like there was all this being scared about switching and everything,
Right.
and she went until Tuesday to her old school. On March 1st, she started the new one, and she came home. She went in like a champ, but she was timid. And now she's bounding out of the car on Friday, ready to get in there. And
So this was just barely her like first week then, right?
Yeah. She's had 3 days of school there. But tonight she's like, I need to go to bed at a good time so I have energy for tomorrow at school.
Nice.
So
getting them ready for
Rosebud
school.
and Thorn is my 4-year-old as an exploding rose plant right now, of just lots of things changing, but handling them like a pro and everything else.
Nice. That's good. I love the new emojis we have for Twitch.
Oh, I didn't see that.
See if we can add some on here. It's a Hubbard emoji. I think this one's Mikey. Yeah,
that's Mikey,
who's over at the Dig on America. Excellent. So Rosebud Thorn for myself. Let's see. Rose. I had my last day at my current job on Wednesday.
How do I not know this?
I peaced out. I did what I came to do, and now I am no longer an employee of the Regional Water Quality Control Board for the state of California's Cal EPA. So it was awesome. I went and bought some meat. We made tacos outside on the grill that we have. My friend Ernesto at work brought me an ice cream cake, the Oreo ice cream cake, which was awesome. And checked out. So Thursday, Friday, I was just sitting at home I got a lot of time to do.
I was sitting at home. I was sitting at home with no child. I was childless at home because all my kids were in school all day. You didn't give me a call?
Well, no, I was like, I like did the stuff I don't normally do. I get like the house clean for my wife. We went on Friday. I got our car detailed. Like, it was in terrible need of it. Our children do not respect the vehicle at all. And I was cleaning this out, and I was like, there are clothes in here that were bought in like January that you guys haven't even worn yet. But so
it's more fun. It's more fun when you find clothes going, you couldn't possibly have worn this size in the last 18 months. And you have two girls, so you won't really, because it could have been that it's just a little bit big for. I always get Casey and Riley. Which is the younger?
Casey.
Okay, so it's like, oh well, this could have been a little big on Casey, but may have been no. I went girl, boy, girl, and so you would find clothes that you'd look at Braden and go, yeah, this was never whatever. And Brianna, you couldn't have worn this for 18 months. And so this piece of clothing has been in the car.
It's been here for a while.
Yeah, it's been here a while. Yeah.
So
now I'm telling you, I'm not good about that.
Bud, we leave on Tuesday morning, early Tuesday morning, headed for Chicago and the great city of St. Louis on Tuesday. So for next week, that's our trip. We're having a family, like this family reunion in St. Louis, which is where my grandparents hail from. I have not been to St. Louis in over 20 years. I think it was 10 the last time I was there. and I met some family while I was there. But now this is like going to be this like big old gathering of folks from around the country. Most of them are already in St. Louis, but we got some people coming in from like Washington D.C., other parts of Missouri, Illinois, Washington. So it's gonna be fun, and hopefully we're gonna meet Dutch with Dig on America and his family for some Chicago eats
So, so that's in Missouri, not in Kansas, right?
in Missouri. Yeah,
I,
Missouri.
I just had to make a Howley joke.
Which is the show me state. As far as the thorn, the only thorn I can think of is oh, see, yeah, I have so many roses. Like also this week, it's currently the Fresno Rogue Festival, which is a collection of artists and comedians, performers, all throughout the country that come to Fresno for a 2-week period and engage in like one act plays and 1 hour, hour and a half performances. And my wife and I were able to go yesterday to a bunch of performances, and the Fools Collaborative, which is a local group of thespians, put on Drunk Shakespeare. It was funny as hell. They did A Midsummer's Night's Dream, but the setting was modern day Florida. It was funny as hell. So if you're familiar with Midsummer's Night's Dream, there's a part in there where like the fairy queen like has the magic dust on her eyes or whatever, and she falls in love with the first thing that she sees, and it's normally an ass. In this rendition of that play, the ass was a dude portraying Donald Trump. And it was the funniest thing. He came out there, he had the hair, and then he had the like back scratcher hands. So he had little hands. And he's like, "This is the best I've ever seen." It was fantastic. So if you're in the Fresno area, you do have to check out all the stuff going on for Rogue Fest.
I have to say, I have to jump in because you said a drunken version of Shakespeare. And I cannot get out of my head yesterday evening. I was doom scrolling Facebook shorts or Instagram reels that are cross posted, which are all just TikToks, which blah, blah, blah. But there was this epic one that I came across, and the guy is button up shirt, all nice, everything else, going to the front door and says, "Okay, honey, I'm going out with the boys. I'll be back later." And wife yells from the background, "Now, don't forget, honey, come back the same way that you leave." And he shuts the front door, walks back into the room, grabs a beer, opens the beer, stumbles around to the door and says, "Okay, honey, I'm leaving. I'm going out with the boys." And wanders out the door. And I'm like, that is the most well-played thing that I've ever seen. Like, oh, I have to come back in the same... Okay, I'm drunk now.
I got
so you can't say anything when I get back later.
That's right. So let's with that, let's hop into the main topic of discussion for tonight's show. It's kind of I don't know, it's kind of like this recap. So let me just set the scene here. The Conservative Political Action Conference took place this past week at Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland. CPAC is the year's biggest gathering of conservative thought leaders, serving as a kind of Coachella for misinformation, bigotry, religious zealotry, and veneration of a twice impeached president, being Donald Trump. And of course, 2020 election denial. The 2023 version of CPAC featured speeches from Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jair Bolsonaro, the former president of Brazil, of course, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, and Kevin McCarthy, and we just talked about her last week. What's her name? Nikki Haley. That's what it is. And Nikki Haley.
And Boebert. Last year, didn't.
Oh, no, there was no Mike Pence or Ron DeSantis, but there was Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo.
Okay.
So just to set the scene, this is one of these events. It's the biggest event that they have. We watched some of the speeches. I watched some of the speeches, basically, so you don't have to. And I got to tell you, they are as delusional as you would think. One of the speeches, in the one that kind of set the tone as one of the early speeches early on, was by Mercedes Schlapp, who is Matt Schlapp's co-host for CPAC, and I believe it's his wife. But anyway, this idea about public schools indoctrinating students in America and the rights culture war. And I want to start out with getting your opinion on not necessarily what she was saying, but just how do we as folks on the left, because I think a lot of the times our response to fighting the culture war stuff, we kind of got into this a little bit last week, is to say, oh no, here's more information. Here's why you're wrong. And here's all the stats and this and that. And we don't necessarily get into the weeds and address why these culture wars, especially around topics like public schools, even exist.
Well, I think it's worse than that, because our side runs out into the field, into the weeds, while they're still standing on the road talking about this big boogeyman idea, and we're standing out in the weeds saying, no, that detail, look over here, look over there. And God, Eric White Swalwell was on, and he said something, I cannot remember it exactly, but he's like, Republicans fight on big ideological, crazy, whatever talking points, and Democrats are stuck in the details saying that's not right, that's not true, that's not, and all the Republicans have to do is find one shred of truth somewhere, throw that out there to their base, and say that their big idea was their thing they're against. And that's the problem with CPAC, is Donald Trump told another 30 lies.
Yeah.
But buried in there was one grain of truth that allows people to say, no, he didn't lie the whole time. Look, see this sentence? That was all true. And Democrats, we then run around trying to disprove that one sentence, or it's a matter of I've said Democrats are designed to fight each other because we all want progress.
Right.
How do you get that progress? What is progress? And there's a million benchmarks for that. The Republicans just say, I hate Lourin because he's black, but we're not going to say that part. So we're just going to say, I hate Lourin, and they go forward. That's it.
Right.
And then I say, no, you hate Lourin because he's black. And they're like, well, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so it's
clutching the pearl.
It's like, and so we have to stop getting in the weeds and start punching back at the high level of everything. Okay, Matt Schlapp is in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit for sexually assaulting one of Herschel Walker's campaign staff. He should be disgraced. Yet he's running around calling us groomers because we believe that if our kids are whoever they are, that we allow them to be who they are.
Right. And getting back to your kernel of truth, and just because as an example of this, like, fault, like it's, I don't think we what Donald Trump did to me is he would, let's set fire to something and then put out that fire and then want to be rewarded for putting out the fire that he started. And I see that happening over and over again, whether it's in Virginia or in other places. And just like, so to Carrie Lake's talking about the parents and parent freedom, and this thought that conservatives have that Merrick Garland, the attorney general, has somehow directed the Justice Department to criminalize parents who voice their concern with the school boards and school administrators on these differences. And like, what did she say? She said, like, I'm paraphrasing, but she said, like, the most dangerous place in nature is between a mama bear and her cub, and that people on the left are going to get ripped to shreds. And I agree with that statement, right? The most dangerous place is to be between a mama bear and her cub, but also, like, that's like, there's that analogy between a mama bear and her cub in nature versus kids in a public school learning actual history. It's such a leap.
I know, but
how do we fight that?
No, let's jump back. She doesn't want parent choice. She doesn't want me to say it's okay for my kids to learn about that. She wants parents' choice, as in a parent can choose that no child can learn about that. That's not parents' choice. That is as backwards as it can get. Oh, I find this book offensive, therefore no one can see it.
Right.
That's
so it's
it's not. Yeah, and so it's not parents' choice. And that's the part where you see the memes. I don't think they're accurate, but I can't word them better. But it's like everything a Republican politician says is projecting something they've done. If they're saying, oh, we want parents' choice, it's because they don't want parents' choice. Oh, we want to save Social Security because we don't want it to be Social Security. Oh, we think the election was rigged because we tried to rig it and it didn't work. It's all of these things, and CPAC embodies every bit of it and takes it and amplifies it, and it's ridiculous.
Prime example, James Comer, the House Oversight Committee chairman, was on a panel at CPAC titled "The Biden Crime Family," saying the Biden crime family, this whole thing tells you all you need to know about the seriousness of congressional investigation into the Biden family. And, like, to your point, isn't the Trump family the ones under multiple investigations and looking at actual jail time? The Trump organization already have people that were convicted and tried for actual crime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like funny.
It's continuous with them. They don't have anything else, and they don't have a narrative to offer other than we don't like Lourin, we don't like Elon, we don't like AOC, we don't like Premier Jayapal, we don't like Elizabeth Warren, we don't like Hillary Clinton. Oh, but we do like Donald Trump. But, like, that's all they have. And if you do the process of elimination on it, the only thing they like is white men. And that's because most, not all, most white men are Christian, and they think that they can get all Christian white men to think that they need to be the head of the household. They need to be, whatever. And they have this absolutely horrendous view of what the past was, even though it wasn't. They have a
Right.
view of this history book that they created where white men went to work, came home, and the wife had a bourbon, on the rocks for them, had the house clean, the kids already fed, in the bathtub, ready to be put to bed so that they could have their quiet time at home and they could tell the wife they're going to get laid that night and it wasn't going to be any of her choice. And that then
Right.
they were going to go to bed and they were going to wake up the next day and go to work away from everyone. And
It
maybe the
really
wife gets a car.
it reminded me of that really creepy movie. Have you seen Don't Worry, Darling?
No, I have not.
With Mr. Watermelon Sugar. Ah.
I have not.
Anyway, and it's oh gosh, I just forgot her name. Olivia Wilde as the director. She stars in it actually too. But it is basically a movie about well, if I tell you, it's gonna like ruin the movie. So just say that fantasy that you just said.
Yeah.
People can get.
Yeah, I'm just.
Well, men can live that fantasy in this movie.
I joked about a few years, well, it was almost a decade ago now, but I joked and I'm like, Amber doesn't want to, and I can't remember what it was, but I was like, is there a training place that we can send my wife? And it was 100% a joke the entire time. But I got a bunch of backlash, and I'm like, guys, it was, and they're like, yeah, but you put it in writing. You don't get inflection. There's no ha-ha
Right.
part of it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'll give you that. And it's like, but I know listening to these people and reading their posts and everything else, that's what they actually want.
Yeah.
And they want you to say sir and madam to them every single time because the way that you look.
Right.
And I think they want you to say yes, sir. Yes,
yes.
It's so racist and ridiculous. And then they try and say, oh no, the Democrats were the KKK. The Democrats did that. Like Lincoln freed the slaves. He was a Republican. They just omit that their entire platform.
Right. It's so myopic.
Yeah. And I can't even engage with that discussion anymore because I'm just like, literally, I'm running for nothing. Fuck you. Shut up. Goodbye. Like, I won't get into the discussion anymore because, somebody later, if I run for something, says, oh, he said fuck you to me. Oh, yeah. Please give the whole sentence. Like, what reasoning did I have to say that? I'm not going to engage with them anymore. I'm not going to give them oxygen or energy to say, hey, this or that any part of it is anything. No, you're a racist asshole. Go away.
Right. One of the other, and I'll get your take on this. One of the other kind of breakout sessions or panels from CPAC was this focus on open borders and how open borders kill. And it was not, of course, they did not talk about the U.S.-Canada border. It was about Mexico, and short of Mexico detaching itself from America and floating to the other side of the world, for whatever reason, there is absolutely nothing that will stop the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene from attacking President Biden and Democrats over the situation at the border. And it's one of those issues that's, it has gone over. Now we're talking multiple administrations, really multiple generations since Reagan, where we've had this immigration issue. But the blame falls solely to Biden. Never mind that, the other guy, the big guy that we're going to talk about later on, who was the headliner at CPAC, was president from 2017 to 2021. Um, that we don't count those years, but people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who talk about now they've got this new thing I've noticed, and this was kind of said in this panel was Chinese fentanyl. The Chinese fentanyl's coming across the border from Mexico. What?
But how do they quantify that?
Well, yeah,
I'm just I'm just asking because they say fentanyl has been seized at an amount never seen before. It's
right.
I can't remember how many million pounds of fentanyl have been seized. And they're saying that's showing that Biden's border policy is bad. And I'm like, it was seized so we could put it on a scale so that we could find out how much, and we're seizing more and record amounts. I mean, hundreds of percent more. That doesn't mean that much more is coming over, but it does show that much more did not get across.
That we stopped.
Like, oh, there were 2.4 million asylum, applications. Well, that's because they were caught and they asked for asylum. It's not because, it's whenever we have a success, they turn that into a failure. And then we as Democrats stand around and go, that's not true. But we need to start hammering, absolutely hammering on them. And we need to find a 3-word chant. I don't have it yet. I right now I'm just with progress, and I know,
and it's so hard. It's so easy to fall into like build the wall, and we don't have a response. Immigration is a complicated issue that that
they
requires nuance and judgment. It's
They have a 3-word chant, and we have a 3-page white paper.
Yeah, it just
it just doesn't. And so,
especially coming from the likes of people that talk about Jewish space lasers, or that China has a weather gun and they're shooting their weather gun at America. Wait. Like
you said Jewish space lasers, China weather gun, build the wall. I'm saying, name one Democrat policy that you can hit with 1, 2, and 3.
Medicare for all. Hey,
I mean, for that one.
Yes.
Take the money. Take the money. They're going to accuse us of taking bad, dirty money. Take the money.
Sure. Yeah, but just like these people aren't real. I got into it today with Miss Bobo on Twitter, and it's granted, I myself I have been, my wife tells me I have city boy behavior because I tweet and respond to things I probably shouldn't tweet and respond to, which, it's like, I can't help it. So Lauren Boebert tweeted, "I'm tired of hearing about ESG and DEI. I'm tired of our completely bloated and overfunded 3-letter agencies. The only 3 letters our founding fathers thought necessary were USA." Which is like so dumb because they didn't say USA. Like they weren't chanting that shit. But me and my city boy behavior, I saw it and I couldn't resist. So I said, you really should blame your ancestors if you're tired of hearing about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All this really could have been avoided if they had just brought into the whole principle that all men are created equal and just pick their own cotton.
Yeah. And what did that comment
man,
section look like.
that unleashed a whole. There's some people that are like, yeah, this is great. But the rest are just like, wow. You do know black people sold other black people into slavery. I was like, well, like I don't have the.
They've always got to bring up black on black crime. Whenever the white people fuck up, it's like, but did you see what the black guy did that one time? It's straight up American Pie. There's this one time at band camp. Like, okay, great. Like oh my God, there's this highway, gun violence in Illinois. Yeah, but have you heard about the black on black crime in Chicago? Okay,
right,
so
Chicago.
Let's admit that that's a thing, but that doesn't mean that the rest of it has anything to do with that. And did you know that the black on black crime in Chicago was mostly committed with guns bought in Indiana because they don't have any fucking gun laws? And what do you know? They're not that far away, and they just drive over and they like, God.
Like people that I know that are from Indiana say they're from Chicago, and they're really not. But like my personal favorite comment to that.
Oh God, Mikey and Dutch are about to join this show. If we make it about claiming you're from Chicago when you're
no. But like my favorite response from that tweet was like, every major country in history had slaves. Persians, Greeks, Romans, the British, every damn one. Open a book. The USA is the best country in history. Go to Rome and try to tear down a statue of Julius Caesar. And here is the problem. Like no other yet were there slaves in other countries throughout history. Yes. Was chattel slavery the way it was ran in America the same as every other place? No, it fucking wasn't. I'm sorry to be the one. Why don't you crack a fucking book? See, now I'm getting angry. Why don't you open up a book and tell me where it said if you were a slave that your children's children were also slaves? It didn't. Yeah. It did not exist. But let's go ahead and what you got for CPAC, because if we keep on it, I'll make us get fucking pissed off. And
I heard Trump made one honest statement and 30 lies. That's what I got from CPAC, and the rest of it, I literally tuned it out. There was a couple of Aaron Rupar clips that I saw on Twitter, but I was just kind of like, other than seeing some accounts that I follow and some of their random crazy replies and knowing what it was about, to jump over and see a Ron Filipkowski, tweet or whatever, which if people aren't following Ron Filipkowski on Twitter, they're missing out, because he has, he's always got the clip or the still shot or the whatever with a comeback a half an hour before it hits any of the other mainstream groups. And so it's one of those things. But I just try to tune it out because it's just a fucking hate convention. And I don't want them to get, I watched it so you don't have to. I want them to get one click, one ad, AdSense second out of me, because no, you don't know exactly what's going to be said, but it's just going to be spewing hate and people clapping. I mean, the best things I saw from CPAC, I guess Tim Miller was there. I saw a lot of his tweets, but people were posting videos from the back of the room panning around, and there was 80% of them were 10% full. And then all of a sudden, the camera angles that you would see a shot on Twitter or whatever from were set such that it looked like there was a crowd in front of these speakers. And there was a few times where somebody said something, And it literally went thud because there weren't enough Chads in the audience that were willing to just stand up and clap for anything. I mean, I was shocked that that happened, but it'd be one random person in the corner, and it just was,
of course,
that was entertaining to me. I didn't care anything about the conference. I just know it's a white nationalist hate fest, and I don't want them to think I care because I don't. Because I don't think any of that has a place in a decent society.
One of the things I want to we're going to talk about Donald Trump at CPAC because, of course, he was the big headliner, and big is not as big as it used to be, I guess, and we'll get into that. But just kind of this open call at CPAC to eradicate trans people, and that was a line that got big cheers when it was said. So I will admit there are the trans thing is a new thing that's been brought to the forefront in politics in America. Not really new because trans people have kind of existed forever, but this new recognition of them in politics in America.
No, Lauren, skip it.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's ironic to me that the group of people freedom the most and individual freedom to do and live however they want to live and be left alone from the government are advocating for the government to take away the freedoms of people. And I guess this is really nothing new because conservatives do this all the time. But what do you think our response should be to this now open call to eradicate trans people and go and how should we kind of address that as people who do believe in freedom and liberty and living how you want to live?
Moment of clarification. I was saying, no, Lauren, don't do it. Like, it looked like you were trying to read the comment that was trying to offer to us to pay them to get a bigger audience. Like when you paused, like I was like, no, we don't need to address it. What is our response to that? Our response needs to be a big solid fuck you. I'm sorry. We have to go. We can't, when they go low, we go high. No, fuck you. You are not going to eradicate a portion of our population. They are people. We're all created equal, and they're a part of us, and we will support all of us. That needs to be our answer. You want to do that? Fuck you. Over my dead body. Come past my white CIS ass first. Because you have to go through me to attack them. No. Hard pass. Right. Full stop. No. There have been transgender people on this planet as long as there's been people on this planet. And that science tells us that because the things we evolved from have animals that act in manners that don't conform with their biological sexuality. It's a matter of no, they can't tell us whatnot, but it's just mind-blowing. And the part that hurts me the most is, these people that are saying this shit have a trans son or daughter, a trans niece or nephew.
Right.
And I have to believe that there is a good, solid chance that they actually shun those people and they are in danger of feeling like they don't have a family or a network around them when it's already confusing, and that these people are in harm's way. because it from self-harm or potential direct harm, because
it just goes along with this narrative of like that we've seen about states. Like I think Tennessee is the first state now to ban drag show book readings to children, and it is like under the guise that we have to protect children, right? And I just like wait, what's the leading cause of death of children in America, in the United States? You can get hurry up and pass a law to ban drag shows for children.
What's the leading cause? What is the overwhelming leading cause of death amongst trans people? It's others with guns.
Yeah.
It's people absolutely, like it's people being unacceptable. No, Mikey, it's not books.
Here in California, we still got books, Mikey. So
yeah. But no, it's like, and I get frustrated because I get lumped in with these assholes.
Do you?
I've had people come up to me and make statements like, without knowing me, assuming I'm on their side. And I'm like, no, absolutely no. Fuck off. Go away with that. And that was the greatest weight that lifted off my shoulders when I wasn't running anymore. Is just we have to go on the attack. And our side voters are still pearl clutching. And so as a candidate, you can't go on the attack. But I'm afraid that if we don't, that we're going to get another Trump presidency with a Trump, House and Senate, slim majority, and it'll be a mess. But they have the Supreme Court. They have, the shit they pass will stick. I mean, it will be fully cooked spaghetti.
Right.
And that's all they know is spaghetti, throw it at the wall, see what sticks.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Well, so here's and before we get to kind of the last point and the last topic of conversation, I want to get you your opinion on this. When Donald Trump gave his speech, yes, it was riddled with lies, but one of the things that he is really crafty at doing is coming out with this narrative of they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way. I'm defending, driving out these globalists and these communists. And we know what phrases like globalist, is a dog whistle word.
Because it pushes nationalism, which is racist, and everything else. I mean,
but see, he called the people that are investigating him, they're the racists.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, look, I look at all these people that are here for me right now at CPAC. You all know that I would never do any. I'm only here for you. And talking about what are the things that he talks about and goes on every time he has a microphone in front of his face is talking about how they tried to impeach me 2 times, and it was just I'm so prosecuted. I'm so this. I'm so that. I'm the only candidate who can make a promise that I will not do anything to hurt you. It's ridiculous. But people like that narrative is bought up. People love that shit.
Yeah, it's because okay, wait. The Democratic Party has a diverse base, and the Republican Party doesn't. And Donald Trump plays white victimhood better than any human has ever played it. That's
better
that's
than
it.
anybody else.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and that is what he's selling. It's not snake oil, it's not blinker fluid. It's this internal panic in white men that
Oh,
that
but
you know,
if you point, it's like ironic. Is back to what you said. If we point out that shit, I have a litany of comments that say I must like being a victim if I point out,
yeah,
hey, chattel slavery wasn't so good for people that look like me,
yeah,
and not even remembering chattel slavery, motherfucker. Ruby Bridges, the first girl to go to a segregated school, is only 60 fucking 2 years old.
yep.
It's not fucking ancient. This isn't ancient Rome.
No.
Sorry. Continue.
And she managed to do it. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is freaking out that there might be a trans person at a school somewhere else, like she's being attacked. Like, come on, put on your big girl pants here. I don't use that term. I don't, just like throwing it against whatever. But seriously, what do these people want? Like, it's put on your big girl pants. You're in a big girl job. You're not in a boy's job. You're not in a man. You're in a big job. Act like it. Like, that's the thing, is you and I ran and would have been the same level of power in the federal government as Marjorie Taylor Greene would have been. And she acts like she's a fucking victim. No, you're not.
No.
You're not a fucking victim. You're one of 435 House members of the 535 seat, Congress, that you're not a goddamn victim. Stop acting like it. No one's coming for you. No one's coming for your guns. No one's coming for whatever. Democrats want to do things to help more people. We do want to put, or I believe the overall platform, and I personally want us to put reforms on guns that restrict future sales and future access and everything else. But that's not coming and sending anybody to your door. But that's all they have. And they always go back to it. In all these speeches, they always roll back to, and they're coming for your guns, or they want to take your guns, or some version of it. And all these Christo-fascist white men supporters of theirs have hordes of guns to keep the bad people away, and they don't want anybody to take their guns. And so they talk about, Democrats are going to allow more bad people, bring in more bad people, and we're going to take your guns. Sends them into a frenzy. Take my Social Security, take my Medicare, take my Medicaid, take everything I have, but I'm going to have my guns, and if somebody that I don't like is coming at me, I'm going to blow them away. And, oh yeah, by the way, we'll give you a stand your ground law that allows you to tell somebody stop, and if they move a half a step, you have free and clear to blow them away. If somebody's running at me in a wind sprint level of speed, Carl Lewis is coming at me as fast as he can, and I yell stop, and he accidentally puts his other foot down, I now can blow him away, even though he was just going for a run around my block. Well, I don't know. I was worried he was coming at me and coming quick, and he kept coming, so I blew him away. And these other people get invigorated, like they get excited by that. Like, oh yeah, they're making it easier for me to defend my property. This is mine.
Gets them excited. What can I say? Okay, so let's bring this week's episode kind of to a close. End all the suspense. Every year at CPAC they take a straw poll, asking the participants at CPAC who they would love to be their nominee for president. And not to keep you waiting on the answer, but it was Donald Trump, of course, leading the way at the CPAC straw poll with 62% of the votes from about 2,000 guests that attended CPAC, which attendance was down this year. Go figure. Ron DeSantis, who is a candidate, or well, I guess he's not a candidate, but the governor of Florida, who is assumed to be a candidate for president on the Republican side, came in second with 20%. And other folks like Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo, Mike Pence, some others at single digits. That's not really the surprising thing, right? Trump carried the vote with 62%. What the surprising thing is, from 2022 CPAC conference straw poll, Donald Trump actually won that with 85% of the vote.
I have to stop you because I looked at that number, and when I saw it reported, it was 59% last time. That's the reporting I saw. That's I literally can flip. I just, because you had said that earlier when we were discussing tonight's show, and then that's an improvement from his 2022 CPAC performance when Trump led DeSantis 59-28. But it's not surprising given the MAGA focus theme of the convention. But this is Axios reporting, said that that they felt that Trump controls a solid 30% of the Republican base. That if you took 100 Republicans, that were across the spectrum around the country, 30 people would be diehard Trump. The rest of the party will follow if that's the nominee. And so I think the big thing is going to be the primary schedule this year. And who can raise money and win.
Oh, sorry, he got
war
69.
chest.
69 last year. Yeah.
So no.
Which is really weird because 2016 Ted Cruz won the CPAC straw poll.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't the nominee. But...
Well, let's hope that in presidential years they get it screwed up. Or let's hope they don't this time and that we beat Trump again. That's where I'm personally conflicted. Like, can Biden beat Trump again? I always said, and I don't know how to word this totally properly, but you don't want to get rid of Donald Trump and end up with Mike Pence, because Mike Pence knows how the government works and will do some really scary, bad stuff. And I meant that in the fact of Donald Trump was an idiot that didn't understand. I don't think he knew 5th grade civics. And so therefore, I was always concerned, like, oh, we're going to impeach him and remove him and then give ourselves Mike Pence, who really believes this stuff, knows all these people, can manage to, I don't know what, as a Democrat I want the Republican challenger to be. I really don't. But I think right now it's showing Trump has the strongest chance, and got to live with the devil,
So 85. So I got that number wrong. 85% of respondents in a different CPAC poll were asked if they would support Donald Trump for president at 64%, or in 2024, which is different than who should be president, who's your choice for president in a straw poll. So that's the figure there.
Hello to all the Raiders. How are you guys doing?
I know. I was trying to think, oh, maybe it is down, but that's kind of like, we kind of got into it last week, talking about the different candidates who could actually beat Donald Trump. And if you brought me a candidate who could actually beat Donald Trump, I would almost say that that's probably worse for the things that I want to see, as far as universal health care, and some other initiatives. So not that great. On the other side, and before we kind of close out here, the other side, Marianne Williamson has announced that she will also be running for president on the Democratic side. Marianne ran for president 2020, of course, and now she joins the likes of, like, Dr. Oz as former Oprah gurus who are now getting you know, throwing their hats into the political arena. I don't necessarily mind Marianne Williamson. I actually think she's like a really competent individual. I think she's got some good plans. I like the things that she talks about. I think she would be a person who would be like, oh, sleeper. If it wasn't if Joe Biden said, I'm not running anymore, I could see Marianne Williamson being kind of a sleeper kind of candidate. I don't know that with Joe Biden. I mean, because he hasn't, to my knowledge, he did. Okay.
They put out an announcement ad that's been out an announcement video where he said it, but I don't know the paperwork status or him doing a Martin Sheen at the podium saying, "Are you running again?" and him saying, "Yeah, next question." I do want to pile on to a little bit of praise to President Biden. Eli Lilly announced $35 a month cap on insulin as a company. Like, that's what they're capping their cost for the pharmaceutical, which was full on Dark Brandon forcing their hand, and they're like, well, we have to do it for Medicare. We have to, you know what? Let's just get a really solid press week out of this and just say, even if you're paying over the counter, you're only going to pay $35.
Yeah. I mean, that's great.
But sometimes when you twist somebody's arm, you get slapped, and sometimes when you twist them, you get submitted what you want, and the Biden administration, the past Congress, everything that was done brought us to this moment where diabetics are now in a situation where it's only $35 a month for your insulin. And I didn't see every detail of the plan, but it was for any prescribed person for insulin, $35 a month. So I guess that means somebody that shouldn't use that much insulin, theirs could be $35 a month. Somebody that uses a lot more, they're still at $35 a month. So, like, how much per vial or whatnot, I don't know. But that people that need that life-saving medicine now will have access to it for $35 a month. And that, I believe, is a huge win, because it's only $420 a year, and they have extra money to spend on 420.
Yeah, no, I do think that I'll give a win where wins due. I do. So, like, my whole thing is, like, we're supposed to be a democracy. In a democracy, people have choice, whether that is in a party or at large in a general election. And why I don't understand why, if I am the head of a party in local races, why I cede, this person's running unopposed. I guess that's fine, and people don't run. So I appreciate Marianne getting in there and having just some contrast and giving people a choice. I think that in a democracy, that is what we do. And I don't think, for what Joe has done, I don't think he's going to have a problem defending his record. But I'm glad that there is someone who is going to make him defend his record before we get to a general election where now he has to.
Yeah, I know, but my thing is I go back to Jill Stein, who has been seen overseas hobnobbing with, America First elites, whatever.
This is a primary, though, right?
I know, but I'm saying that Washington, we have top 2 primaries, like you do. Top 2 vote getters go through. But there are all of these states where you can say, no, I'm an independent, and jump on the ballot. And so I have no problem in a primary challenge if it's a traditional Democrat versus Democrat versus Democrat and Republican versus Republican versus Republican.
No,
that's fine. But when you're talking about open primaries and you have, top 2s and you have people that are going to peel away votes because, they said this one thing this one time that I understand single issue voters. But it's a package. You're voting for this person that's going to support this agenda that's going to work with all of these people in federal policy to make it happen. I just worry about when those dominoes fall, and or when you have the Bernie versus Hillary. Bernie and Hillary were beating each other up. No, I'm not going to say anything other than Bernie and Hillary were beating each other up.
Baby.
I know you're a Bernie fan. But they were beating each other up, and then in the general election, there were people that wouldn't vote for Hillary because they were still Bernie. Sure, and had it been the other way, there would have been people that were full Hillary that are like, I'm not voting for Bernie because, and so I think the Republican side is like, yeah, go kick the crap out of each other. Whoever's last, we're behind them. And our side is, that one person said that one thing, and that other person fought back against it. But that thing's really important to me, so I just can't bring myself to vote for him. And I hear more of that from our side than I do from the Republican side.
You're right. That's true. That is true.
Because when you try and run a campaign just on values and what you're going to do, and you're both running around basically saying the same thing, or for all intents and purposes, the same thing, then you're talking about a beauty pageant. So then you have to separate yourself from that. And that's when it's, well, I'm different from this person in this way, whether it's an attack, whether you're trying to promote yourself, but that looks negative on the other person. And the person that goes through is standing there with the other side's person having opposition research done by our side. And that's what bothers me. Oh, look at this little nugget. We can see that in the polling data that was working because Lourin figured out about Brent that, whatever, that Brent went to college in the South and didn't go to college in Washington. And so now we're going to call Brent the Southern boy, and we're going to make him say, oh, no, I grew up in the Northwest. I happened to go to college in Louisiana. That happens every day. But that's now part of my speech. It's part of my time. And when it's played over and over again, that's all they'll remember is, oh, man, he left us and went to the South to go to college. That's, so that's where I get mad about some parts of the primary process, but especially, look at Arizona. Kyrsten Sinema is an independent. She will have enough signatures. There will be a Republican, a Democrat, and Kyrsten Sinema on their ballot. And who is Kyrsten Sinema going to take votes from? We are handing the Republicans a Republican seat in the Senate in that race. because of Arizona election rules.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
That's what gets me worked up.
So I will thank you for the discussion. It was spirited, and I there was places I got heated. We got the into it. I will kind of just leave with this thought of like, to me, when I look at CPAC and the things that that occurred at CPAC, Trump isn't necessarily the problem to me with what's going on in the conservative movement, the current conservative movement. As quote unquote liberal as I am, I do have some conservative tendencies, and I do think that there's a need for a conservative party. And that's what's so depressing is like there should be robust discussion about problems, but that are done, um, with critical thought. And I don't think that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Boebert have the capacity. But here we are. So the problem to me is not necessarily Trump. The problem is Trumpism, because I keep hearing people say, and CPAC is no different, that it would be great if there was, Trumpism without Trump. But unfortunately, we can't separate the two. Ron DeSantis, who we've talked about earlier, the Florida governor, is a person who represents this Trumpism without Trump. And I would argue that it's worse than Trump because he actually is educated and actually knows how to maneuver. He knows what he's doing in Florida. He criticizes whoever he wants with no checks on his power because he controls the Florida legislature, with it being overwhelmingly Republican, and goes after his enemies, looking at people like companies and corporations like Disney, who employs over 65,000 Floridians in the city of Orlando itself. But no, that doesn't matter to Ron DeSantis. He takes it right. He knows what he's doing. Takes it right to him. So to me, the GOP today, there is not a Trump problem, but there is a Trumpism problem. And we better find a way to address it. Otherwise, 2024 will be a shit show. And that's our show for this week. And last call with Lourin and Brent. Thank you so much for watching and joining us. If you like the show, please give us a like. And we love interacting with you guys in the comments section. There's been some comments that today that I had to stop and laugh at because they were good. Keep them coming. We appreciate it, you guys. Join us here today. Well, actually, Brent, are you going to do a show next week? Because I will be flying back from St. Louis next Sunday, so I don't know if we're going to have a show.
I think we're going to take next week off, and then I'm going to try and get, I believe, a candidate for Congress out of California to be on so that'll be the 12th on the 19th. So I'm working on that.
It's awesome to be back. See, here we are. It's only been a couple months, but we're back to doing candidate interviews because we have people running for Congress and running for office, which we like to see. So
why don't you take your candidate, take your host hat off for one moment. I'd like you to be able to give a quick shout out, and then I can play us out. But we have Lourin Hubbard, candidate for City of Fresno mayor, on the show tonight, and maybe he'd like to give us a quick 30-second pitch.
Well, yes, thank you, Brent. Quick 30-second pitch. My name is Lourin Hubbard. I am running for mayor of Fresno. I am focused on addressing issues that are currently detrimental to our city, such as homelessness, rising violent crime, and the historic underinvestment in our infrastructure. If you'd like to learn more about our campaign and what we're doing to help folks in Fresno and address these issues, you can do so by going to www.lourinhubbard.com. That's www.lourinhubbard.com, and check us out.
And with that, We're ending our show. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching.